Hi guys, it's Karina from Ragebreed, and I wanted to talk to you today about tall poppy syndrome. And it's something that is globally known to people, basically in relation to how they view money and lifestyle, for example. So, um, basically, what it's about, well, the actual term of tall poppy syndrome describes aspects of a culture where people of high status are resented, attacked, cut down, or criticized because of their achievements that make them stand out from their peers. Okay. Um, and it was actually originated from Australia. So basically, it referenced the ideas that poppies should all grow together at the same height and speed. And if one becomes taller than the other, it'll be cut down to size to maintain the whole crop and ensure, there's a uniform field when viewed from the outside. So that's actually what the actual view of this is. Okay. And the thing is, one of the things that I have spoken to when it comes to people who have made it in music, and I'm talking, stars, people that have toured the world, they're making, they're very successful at what they do, for example. Okay. Um, the way that you can deal with the tall poppy syndrome is just make sure that regardless of what people say, don't let them dim your light. Okay. Remove yourself from the harm. So stop hanging around people that will continuously put you down for wanting to aspire to reach goals. Okay. Practice compassion towards others. Now, I know that sounds odd, but you need to. And the thing is, not everyone has been born with the same backgrounds as different people, and therefore what is available to you is going to be different for people that, say, for example, come from a poorer background and doesn't have the money to put into fees and things like that for education. You have to remember that, as a lot of tall poppy syndrome comes because people have not had the same background, they've not had the same parenting, they've not had the same people in their life to help grow their self-esteem. Okay. And when you come from, say, a family that just goes for their dreams and that's it, and they just don't have any issue with confidence, they're just brought up in such a way that if you want to do something, you try it. And that's what my family personally have always said to me. If you want to do something, you do it. You go out there, you give it a go, because I come from a family of doctors, and my mum was the practice manager, a great artist. My dad was also a lot like me. He does, as much as he was a doctor and he did that full time, um, he did other things as well, like such as poetry, acting, things like that. So he has a very big status over in India, and he also has a very big status over in England, to the point of where he got an excellence award from the Queen. So you have to understand that the level of you know how people want to achieve things doesn't make them less or more than anyone else, but you have to respect the fact that when people work hard and they achieve their goals and they create a lifestyle they want, that is something to be respecting someone about, because not everyone can do it. And it's incredible if you can acquire a lifestyle that is right for you, to give your children the best in life, so they're not struggling, thinking, when's my next meal going to come from? Or that's what this is the thing. And there's nothing wrong. Look, when I talk about this is not a dig at people that don't have the skills or the background or anything, and because they've not been able to go into education, or they may have mental conditions that have stopped them from doing that, or physical disabilities. And the thing with that is, you've got to understand that from a person like that's perspective, that has not had the same kind of upbringing, or the same kind of people saying go for it, and being around the right people to say, yeah, you can do this. Instead, we have this kind of culture whereby to go for your dreams is seen as greed, which is just completely wrong, because whatever you want to do in life, say for example, if you wanted to see more of the world, okay, everything costs money. The world is wide up on money, that you cannot shy away from it. It doesn't mean that money should define you, but it is important to have if you want a lifestyle where you want to see the world, or maybe you want to, help the world. Maybe you want to create businesses so other people can have jobs, or maybe you want to serve your community. There's loads of different reasons why people want to acquire wealth, and some of it is not always personal. It's not always for the community. Sometimes people just like to maybe have that new car, and why not? That doesn't make them an evil person, but it's just knowing that those things, for example, are things that will not give you what I call these things are called external happiness. So, material things, for example. So say like, I don't know, you bought a new CD, it makes you happy, right? It's a material object, but it gives you music, which makes you feel happy because you like the music. That still costs money to buy. Okay. So, we talk about a lot of things like how material things are bad for you. Now, it's only material things are only bad as if you basically judge people on the basis of the material things that they have. Okay, so whether that's you're judging someone on whether they're poor, or whether you're judging someone if they're middle class or rich, that is a negative, thought process to have, because money is something that will come and go in life. Say for, and I'll give you an example. When all my stuff got burned in the fire, I lost a lot of my things. Some things that meant quite a lot to me. I had rare releases, I had vinyl, I had things that, I really loved, and a simple accident can do that. So you have to remember that when we talk about having compassion for others, it's basically understanding or empathizing where they're coming from, but at the same time not allowing that to deter you from your goals, if that makes sense to you. Because you've got to do what makes you happy no matter what. Always have a support network of people that back you. Don't waste any energy. Have your say if you need to have your say, but don't spend the rest of your whole life fighting back, because you're just not going. There's a clash of value systems, okay? And people who are happy with nothing can't understand people with people, those who want to acquire more, if that makes sense. Um, and there's always going to be this issue, because people want them to be like them. There's a lot of people in this world that if I think this way, then you should think like me. And it happens all across the board, okay? But tall puppy syndrome is really actually a very negative thing, because it's basically saying that um, it's got to be my way or no way. So, and if you are going to go for your dreams, I'm going to resent you, I'm going to attack you, I'm going to cut you down, I'm going to criticize you, because I'm not happy that you're achieving things. You should be like the rest of us at this one base level. And you tend to find that kind of mentality comes from people who believe in communism, for example. And the thing with democracy, and we have the ability to challenge ourselves to acquire the things that we want in life. Not everyone's idea of I guess what you would say is your standard of living is going to be the same. And all of that, well, you can't fix that. You can't make people turn into something that they're not, if they've had a background where they've been subject to a certain standard. You're just not going to be able to try and deter them. And in the same way, you can't always deter someone that is very happy with a simple life. And that's always going to be an issue, because it's kind of like, this is who I am, this is who I am, and both parties will clash because their mentality and their philosophy is completely different. Okay, and that's why we get so much class prejudices. A lot of tall poppy syndrome is about that, and I myself have experienced it quite a lot as well. So it's something to think about, and think about this. we need to stop judging people, pretty much. You know what I've realised is that so many people have different relationships to money. You know, there's people that absolutely hate money. They would rather do trade swaps. And some people, you know, that's how I've incorporated trade swaps to Ragebreed, because there are some people that actually prefer to do that. You know, and that's fine. That's all good. Then you get people who are very sort of set in their ways, whereby whatever they do to help, it has to be a paid for service. So some of these people will never understand the value of voluntary work. And this is the thing, you know, I mean, with Ragebreed, we do influencers which are voluntary, but they do get perks, things like, you know, free music. But we work the similar way as Roadrunner with their street team. The second thing we do is we do commission-based work. So what you and that is for what we call an affiliate program, where basically people are affiliates of Ragebreed. They're not actually on our books as staff. They are, even though we call them our staff, you know, they're actually self-employed, and they make commissions through sales. And some people say if they're doing it as a hobby and they don't particularly, you know, they may be on benefits and they just want to kind of do it as a hobby, we do Amazon vouchers. So, you know, we do things like that. For where we know that we're going to get a guaranteed income, like say for example club nights, we pay DJs, we pay door staff, we have a budget for that, and so yes, we do pay. And same with paying bands as well, a C list, and then we also do a ticket policy for bands that are lesser well known, that would be high risk in our category. So, you know, that's how we do things, and we generated this change by looking at things very ethically and looking at ways that we could bring, you know, some kind of way for people to earn part-time income, gain skills, because we are looking at doing training. So it's, you know, Ragebreed's great for people that have had zero experience and coming into a field where they're gonna get the training they need in order to become someone with a new skill set, and we do that for people who are interested. Now, you know, the thing with tall poppy syndrome is that when people start excelling at what they do and they start becoming, you know, or they look as if they're, you know, in the mindset to become successful, there'll be people even at that early stages of growth that will try and humiliate you and put you down. And, you know, I've done a lot of work when it comes to Ragebreed against bullying, what haters are like, what competition is like, what it looks like to others when it comes to backstabbing and stuff like that. And tall poppy syndrome really is about that. So say for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you've plugged loads of money into advertising, promotion, you've put money into you know, acquiring equipment, maybe, you know, things like that, all the business expenses into going to an event, and you solely have put that in, then what is made on the door predominantly would have to cover your costs, so that money is yours, and then obviously anything left after that would go towards your you know, standard of living. Obviously you pay your staff within that as well, and that's what was happening. You know, we had agreed a set amount of money, and that's what the contract was, you know, and anything that we make over that was going to cover our costs, you know, and if there is profit made, great, you know, that's wonderful. So it's like you've got to look at how basically businesses work, and the reason why there is somebody that has more money than others is because that their job is a lot more stressful. I mean, to run a business, that's called operations management, and you know, you have to deal with people all the time. You have to deal, you know, you have to set out rotas. You've got to train staff. You've got to make sure that they're doing their job. You have to deal with illnesses. If things get delayed, you have to do workarounds for that, announce delays, and then obviously because I do so much other things apart from that, like I have to do all the accounts. I have to do all the event management, training. I have to do some of the radio shows, TV. I pretty much do everything. And a true leader gets involved in all the activities. I even do a full magazine, and you've got to understand that the level of work that goes into it. So when someone says to you, I deserve the same wage as you, well, no, you don't, because you've not put in that amount of money. You've not put in the hard work. You've only done a fraction of the work. So for you to say you have to have the same wage as me is complete nonsense. And that's the thing. It's making sure you educate people of what your contract is with that person, and for them to fully understand the situation. And I think in the past, a lot of people find it hard to speak up, because they don't understand what actually goes in behind closed doors. And I don't put everything I do as like sort of like, on public social media. I don't sit there and say, right, today I've done this, knocked it off, because that's my private business. I do that behind closed doors. I have lists, and what I do is I tick them off as I go along. When I start feeling ill, for example, or I'm not well, because I work from home, I can lie down, and then get back to it when I feel better. So these are the things that people have to understand what happens when you are an entrepreneur, and why an entrepreneur will get more money than other people. Now, the other thing is to remember that, let's say, for example, if a business is started with, say, equal shares, and equally those people put money into the actual business and said, right, okay, I'm going to buy a share into your business, then that's fine. Then you can get the equal amount of profit from there. But if you're not doing that, you're there as someone who pretty much is working for me either on a paid basis, a commission basis, or a voluntary basis. And that's how Ragebreed works. Now, in the past, there's been people that dislike the success, say, of what we're trying to build and things like that. So they'll start name calling and try to, humiliate what we're doing. But actually, what it really needs is for people to truly understand what goes into operations management. Or say, for example, even if you're a person that is, say, for example, you're in a band that's signed, and then all of a sudden people around you are thinking you have an ego because you're signed and things like that, but actually your role is to become a confident person, be passionate about what you're doing. So that requires you to have a leadership mentality, and a lot of people don't like that, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to tall poppy syndrome. Because you've established yourself as someone that is now rising up in the world, they don't like it, and so again you will start getting the hater mentality. Now, if you are a person that is in the limelight and you're getting all this abuse from people and all that kind of stuff, the main thing is to remember is that these are their issues. So that's the things that you've got to remember. The other thing is, haters can actually be quite a good learning curve for you, because sometimes you don't see things from the eyes of others, and it's good to actually look at what they're saying and see it as something. Is what they're saying correct? Is this something that you truly can improve upon? And if it is, improve upon it. Sometimes, even regardless of whether they're saying it in a nasty way or not, obviously distance yourself from people like that. But actually look at what they're saying. Is this something that you can learn from? And if it is, apply it into your life, because that's called taking accountability. Okay, so I knew that some people were saying, oh, my makeup wasn't great and things like that. But I've got my own style, but I did start taking care a little bit more about my makeup and things like that. Now, things like where, say, someone was, ridiculing my the foundation that I was wearing. Well, I'm a goth. Sometimes it's light, sometimes I want to just go natural, and sometimes I'll even go darker sometimes, because it depends on the look that I'm going for. As a model, and I do different shots for different things, I like to have sort of like, a theme. So you'll find with a lot of my shots, it creates a theme. There might be even a slight tint to it, or a filter that works with the background, for example. And these are just pictures, these aren't, that's all that is. You're a model, therefore, you have to sort of have different sort of images for different things. That doesn't mean that you're trying to be white. And this is a very sort of a racist thing for people to think, that just because you've got different colors in your skin tone and things like that, that you're trying to be white, which is absolute, ridiculous. So, you have to remember that tall poppy syndrome is really about people feeling threatened about your success, and what that's about, basically. So you have to really be careful about the people that you surround yourself with. Are they rooting for you, or are they trying to bring you down? And this is very, very important. So if people don't understand this concept, they're going to be easily led by other people, and you get this kind of hate towards the fact that you're doing well. So the people that cheer you on, well done, you've done this, they're the kind of people you want to know, and you cheer them on, and vice versa. So when they've accomplished something, well done. And when you have a society that build each other, that's the kind of society which is good, because what you're doing in effect is saying, you can do this and so can I. And when you light people's world up and you give them compliments and encouragement and things like that, anything is possible. At the same time, you can't also allow people to disrespect you. So if there is a situation which needs to be addressed, yes, do communicate with that person and say, look, this is the reason why I think this, and this, and these are the issues that I have. Let's try and resolve them. And you have to be able to express yourself in such a way so you understand, and when there's a lot of emotional context in this, like there's misunderstandings, paranoia and things like that, these things can be rectified if you spend time to listen and try to value the other person's understanding. Okay, because not everyone is going to have the same value towards money, the same value towards, voluntary work, same value towards commissions work, same values for anything. I mean, there can be people that actually don't like, say, a woman looking sexy, for example. And these are just clashes of what people's values are. I mean, for me, my values are this. I dress quite reserved sometimes. I can dress like a businesswoman. I dress like a metalhead, a rocker, goth, sexy, whatever. It just depends on the situation. You have to be flexible in my line of work, because obviously, when I'm feeling empowered and I'm feeling sexy, and when I go out, I do want to look hot. I really want to kind of like portray myself as a confident, sexy, powerful woman. That is my aura, if that makes sense. The difference is, though, I can also still be, the life coach who wants to help you through things. I can dress, reserved and for whatever the role that I'm playing at the time. So, it's like, yes, who I am as a person, is basically a very, very versatile, fluid person that can adapt into different backgrounds, and into different situations. And I think that that's a very important part of being an entrepreneur. So you can relate to different people and different backgrounds, but also it's a very positive trait to be non-judgmental when you are doing things like counseling, when you're doing things like life coaching, and, making sure that, you have this positive regard for people who may have different value systems to you. And these things are learned, and we do make, mistakes along the way. I mean, I know a lot of people that have looked at, say, what I do and thought, oh, that's not for me or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. But I think that there's a difference between, say, someone thinking that and actually being someone who is bullying you in regards to that. So there's two different things there. And earlier on today, I actually posted something on Facebook, and I think it's a very good quote. And for me, I've always been someone who likes to express my opinion, but say if it's something that I would just never ever do. This is the thing where people can still help each other by being silent. So, for example, the next time you see someone enjoying something that isn't hurting anyone, even if it's not your cup of tea, try this. Instead of saying something negative, train your brain to think, I'm glad they're happy, and carry on with your life. And this is what an educated person will do. You might not agree with it, but continue. Um, there's a lot of things that I've had to sort of deal with where it comes from, people that haven't reacted or acted in a way that is right for me. And we have to sometimes step back and think, well, there's two things I can do here, because I can't change that person, even if, say, you've tried and they still have the same kind of, responses and things. But what you can do is build a resilience to it, and also make sure that you spend sort of like some time with that person and some time away, so while so people have got the ability to change, okay, but they have to want to change themselves in order to become a better person. And sometimes people are in low places and they do become toxic. They don't see it themselves, but until you have that conversation with them and say, look, this is what you're doing and this is the reason why you're doing it, and the thing is, it's affecting me like this. Sometimes you can get resolved. There are people in my past whereby, they were behaving very, badly towards me. We discussed things, and it was all fine, because they began to understand that how they were behaving was actually wrong. It wasn't a good thing, and it wasn't helping both of us grow as individuals. So it really is about expressing, and sometimes these things can be very difficult conversations to have. So, for example, some people would either react with understanding and take that feedback on board and think, okay, maybe I am acting like this, so I apologize and I'm sorry you felt that way, but that wasn't my intention. And they're the kind of grown-up people that you get. And then sometimes people will just lash out and try and bring you down and indirectly bring you down and all that kind of stuff. And once you acknowledge that people actually have very dark feelings towards you and your successes and your skills and talents and things like that, they will be I guess what I had to say it, once you understand that, you will pull away, because once you have that self-respect and that self-love for yourself, you will never allow yourself to get pulled down by those sort of people. And let's be honest here, I do have a lot of hater pages up against me because they dislike the fact that I'm very confident and I'm going for my dreams, and I do, express myself very outwardly. But this is the thing, this is who I am, and I use my life experiences to teach, to try and help other people through their problems and things like that. And at the same time, I want people to really think about their actions as well, and hopefully that will instigate change, because unless you actually address problems and unless you address the situation, they can't see it from the view of their target, if that makes sense. And sometimes that can be a very positive thing, because it's like, for example, with Ragebreed against bullying, we had a guy who was, basically bullying me about my weight and things like that, and we exposed it, and and yeah, we 100% believe in biting back and sort of saying, this is what this person's doing, how awful, and then he was able to look at it in that way, and then eventually I got an apology. So this is the thing, you have to remember that people will only change when they can actually see what they're doing is actually wrong. But when you have people that have got tall poppy syndrome, a lot of people do join in with them, and that's what you tend to find on hater pages, for example, or groups. But it can't, obviously it's going to hurt you when you see things, but what you've got to do is build that resilience up and think, what, these are their issues, it's an isolated thing. So just keep being who you are and doing the things that you love to do. Be confident in what you do, and don't let these people get to you, because at the end of the day, they've got their own stuff they're dealing with. And the thing is, there are some people that deal with their pain in a healthy way, and there's some people that lash out and they don't know how to deal with it. So be compassionate and understand that actually, what they're doing is wrong, and what it is absolutely wrong. But why are they doing it? And sometimes if you can find sort of a mutual ground to understand where they're coming from, you might even get resolved. Not always, but sometimes you will. So, here's to hoping that people will understand your point of view, and here's to understanding their point of view and seeing whether you can reach a mutual ground. Other than that, if there's people that can't resolve in a healthy way, then please do just ignore, move on, rise above it, continue doing what you're doing, and believe in yourself, and don't let other people's chaos disturb your inner peace.